Imagine the fire never caught. One ordinary day, more than 1,000,000 years ago, somewhere in Africa, a lightning strike leaves a branch smoldering in the dry grass. An animal that walks upright stops and looks at it. And in this version of the story, it just walks away. No one carries the flame home. No one keeps it alive. Fire stays what it has always been. A thing that happens to the world, not a thing you own. Picture where that leads. Most people picture the cold. Shivering ancestors in the dark, no warmth, no light, easy prey. And that is real. But it is not the part that matters. Because if you follow that missing fire all the way forward, it does not end with your ancestors freezing. It ends with you never existing at all. Not you, the person. You, the species. The animal reading this line and understanding it. That animal cannot exist without fire. And the reason is hiding somewhere you would never look. Not in the warmth, in your gut. Start with what fire actually gave us. Because it was not heat, and it was not light. It was cooking. And cooking is a far stranger gift than it sounds. When you put food over a flame, you are not just making it taste better. You are digesting it before it ever reaches your mouth. Heat breaks down the tough starch in a root and unwinds the proteins in a piece of meat. Work your own body would otherwise have to do at a cost. Cooked food gives up more of its energy and gives it up more easily. The same potato, the same cut of meat, hands you more calories once it has met fire. For a long time, that was just an idea. Then someone tested it. In 2011, a researcher named Rachel Carmody, working with the biologist Richard Wrangham, fed 2 groups of mice the same food in the same amount. One group got it raw, the other got it cooked. The mice on raw food lost weight. The mice on cooked food held it or gained. Same meat, same portion. The only difference was a flame. Cooking was not just easier to chew. It was worth more, not by a little, enough that, spread across a lifetime, across a whole species, it was the difference between an animal that could afford a bigger brain and one that never could. And here is why a few extra calories changed everything. They went to the single most expensive thing you own. Your brain is about 2% of your body weight, and it burns around 20% of your energy every second, awake or asleep, doing nothing in particular. It is a gas guzzler bolted to the top of your spine. A brain like that is not cheap enough to run on raw wild food. Something has to pay for it. In 1995, 2 scientists, Leslie Aiello and Peter Wheeler, worked out the deal. They noticed that both the brain and the gut are enormously expensive organs to run. And they saw that as human brains grew, human guts shrank. Compared to other primates our size, your gut is only about 60% of the size it should be. That is the trade. You cannot afford a huge brain and a huge digestive system at the same time. So we shed the gut and spent the savings upstairs. But there is a catch. You can only get away with a small gut if your food arrives easy to digest. If it arrives cooked, you can see the trade written all over your body. A chimpanzee your size spends close to half of its waking day just chewing. Just chewing. In 2011, a team measured how long modern humans spend eating, and the number came out under 5% of the day. Fire took the hardest, longest job an animal does, breaking down its food, and did most of it for us, outside the body. Think about what that hands back. 4 hours a day, an ape spends grinding through raw fiber, gone, returned to you for free. Time and energy no other animal gets to keep, suddenly sitting there, waiting to be spent on something else. On a brain that does nothing you can point to and costs more than any other organ you own. Your small jaw, your weak teeth, your short gut, they are not flaws. They are a bet that the fire will be there. And over 2 million years, as that bet kept paying off, the brain roughly tripled. From something around 450 cubic centimeters in our older ancestors, to about 900 in Homo erectus, to the nearly 1,400 you are carrying around right now. And we can still find the old fires. In a cave called Wonderwork in South Africa, there is burned bone and plant ash sitting in the dirt, about 1,000,000 years old, the oldest solid proof we have of fire used on purpose. In Israel, at a lakeside almost 800,000 years old, there are little scorched patches, and around them, burned seeds. Olive, wild barley, wild grape. That is not a wildfire. A wildfire does not sit in one spot and burn the things you happen to be able to eat. That is a kitchen running before our species was even here. So that is the real answer to the question. If the fire never caught, you would not be a colder version of yourself. You would be a different animal entirely. Smaller brain, longer gut, half its life spent chewing. In that other history, the one where the flame died in the grass, that animal is still out there, jaw working, gut full, brain small and quiet, going nowhere in particular. It would look a little like you. It would never once wonder what it was. The you that reads and wonders and asks what if was in a very real sense cooked into being. But here's the part that should unsettle you. Fire did not just help you, it caught you. It changed you so far that you cannot leave. Because your gut is small, your teeth are small, and your body now expects its food half finished before it arrives. And that is not something you can undo by deciding to. We know because people have tried. There are people today who eat everything raw, on purpose, and they are not doing it in the wild. They have blenders, they have olive oil, they have a whole supermarket of the softest, richest food our species has ever produced. In one study of hundreds of long-term raw eaters, the men lost about 10 kilograms, the women about 12. Many became underweight, and a large share of the women stopped menstruating altogether. The body's oldest signal that it does not have enough energy to spare. With every modern trick available, they still could not properly feed themselves on raw food, because they are running a body that was built 2 million years ago around a fire. You are not an animal that learned to cook. You are an animal that can no longer live without it. Now, I have to be honest with you, because the clean version of this story has a crack in it, and you deserve to see it. The crack is timing. The brain starts its big climb around 1.9 million years ago. But the oldest fire we can actually prove is only about 1 million years old, and fire as a regular everyday habit does not clearly show up until maybe 400,000 years ago. So which came first? Did cooking grow the brain, or did the brain come first and cooking catch up? Wrangham argues the fires are simply older than the evidence, that ancient hearths burn away and leave almost nothing behind, that absence of proof is not proof of absence. His critics answer that the gap might be real, and that more meat, more roots, and simply pounding food without any heat could have carried part of the load. That argument is not settled, and I am not going to pretend to you that it is. But step back from the timing fight, and the thing underneath it does not move. Whatever lit the way, by the time you arrive on the scene, the deal is already done. Your brain is enormous and starving. Your gut is too small to feed it on raw food. Your teeth long ago gave up. Your whole body is built from the inside out, around the quiet assumption that its food will come to it softened by heat. So think about what that actually means. You tend to picture fire as something ancient humans discovered, back there, in the dark, a scene behind glass in a museum. It is not back there. It is not in the past at all. It is in your jaw. It is in the short length of your gut. It is in the 20% of your energy pouring right now into a brain that no raw diet could ever have built. Every cooked meal you have ever eaten was you quietly paying off a debt almost 2 million years old. You did not inherit fire. You are what it made, and there is no going back to raw. You're more ancient than you think.